All right. Well, welcome everyone to another great episode of Our Parents' Basement. Thank you for joining us. We were not here last week because everyone had something going on, so I am glad to be back
Almost
and
died.
enjoy back. Yeah, yeah.
Not like.
We'll get to that in a second, Turf.
Okay,
Hold on.
sorry.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say for
I
the intro
almost
now.
died too.
I love it. Yes, we are back. New episode time. Glad to be back. Glad everyone's doing well and doing healthy and enjoying this brisk fall weather. And we have an interesting topic for this evening that I hope everyone enjoys. So let's just dive right in. I am Philip, and with me this evening we have someone who almost died. That would be Turf. And Turf, how are you feeling now? Feeling better?
Man, I'm on top of the world now. I'm golden. I don't know. Maybe it was the flu. I've never had the flu, so I'm not
had the
fluent. Never been fluent.
His sweat gland started bleeding out. There's blood coming out of his sweat gland. That's how bad it was.
It was. I thought I had Ebola for a minute, but I wasn't bleeding out of my eyes. It was so bad my hair hurt. This is behind the curtain, behind the podcast while we weren't here last week. It hurt to text. Like Philip was texting me going, "Hey, how's you got a day off? How's Mega Man treating you?" I'm like,
You fooled me. I thought you sounded articulate as always in your texts. So.
Well, that's how.
Wow.
I'm good at texting, but I didn't want to move. No joke. For the entirety of last Thursday, I didn't leave the bedroom except to go to the bathroom, and let your imagination carry why. But yeah, it was miserable. It was terrible, and I hate missing shows. But we couldn't do it.
I'm glad you're back, and you look a lot better. You sound great.
Golden.
So glad you're all back to 100%. So yay for that. And we also have Charles. And Charles, you had something going on last week too, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to do some stuff at work. I held up late at work again, and had to get stuff for our class. Jen and I teach a photo class.
Oh, okay. Yep. So you had to do with that.
So, but yeah, that's it. Bought my Mega Millions ticket today.
Well, I hope you win.
980 something million right now. Probably by tomorrow night, it'll be over $1 billion.
Yeah.
I'm gonna invest $2 and win $1 billion. I'm not really the kind of guy that spends a lot of money on chance, but
you gotta play the win.
Your chances go up infinitely if you spend $2 on that ticket. So
yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'll grab one tomorrow and maybe hope against hope that this podcast will be rich
and get
that professionally.
And get that mega player too. That doubles.
I'm not worried. It's jackpot or nothing, man.
It doubles, triples, quadruples, or
but it doesn't the jackpot. That's only the other prizes. I don't care about.
It does for the jackpot. It'll double, triple. It'll.
Nope. Read your rules, man.
Nope. I don't know.
You got suckered. You got that dollar bet. You got suckered. Jackpot's all or nothing, son.
Let me see.
Anyways,
sorry.
So welcome, Charles. Glad to have you as well. And last week I had family in town, so I was busy as well. But we are back. We have a new episode, and we are going to get into it. I'll let one of these guys, because both these guys had lots to say this evening. I'll let them describe the topic because I'm still not too clear on it. So, Turf, take it away. What are we talking about?
I'll tell you what. Tonight we have this kind of question posed to us, if you will, something thrown out there. We've all been game collectors, and we've been all over the world looking for these little hunks of plastic, these little silicone jewels. We've run into a massive array of type of people and places and things. So tonight we're just going to kind of cover some of the weirder things that we've run into, some of the stranger things, some of the things that left an impression on us as just as travelers, I guess, as passengers in this ride of life.
All right.
Nay, we are drivers. We are the carriage driver in this vehicle of life. So that's what I kind of wanted to touch on tonight. What's some of the craziest things, some of the cool stories that you've come up with, that you've encountered
Well,
looking for games.
Charles is chomping at the bit. Go ahead, Charles.
Well, always on my first trip down to Retropalooza, my only trip down to Retropalooza, we're driving. This guy was in Arkansas, right?
Yes, this is actually in Little Rock.
This isn't Little Rock, some little, I would say, backwoods flea market stand shack. And, this guy, holy Christ, when Turf said, hey, would you buy some stuff? Like, yeah. And like Turf's like, I got all these consoles in the truck. So he runs out there and says he comes like, this guy's got like 20 dozen games stationed in the backs of his truck. He's like, I used to work for Sony testing the PlayStation 5 and 6 for them, which isn't even out yet. I do all the game stations. I'm like, okay, hi. And that, oh god, it had some weird stuff, like kind of overpriced. There's something like a PlayStation 2 for like what, $100 or something like that. I don't remember. It was up there.
Now, before we get into that, I want to set the stage for this. So Philip and Charles are driving, and Jenny, they're driving down through Arkansas. They're going to meet me and my brother in Little Rock, and I'm like, hey guys, I have a treat for you. So I'd come across this place before, and this man his name's Alvy that runs it. Anyways, so I give them an address, so you could just follow your GPS and meet me here. So they pull up, and they're like, it's on the dirt road. There's junk everywhere, and they're like, Jesus, what have you got us into?
Yeah, I saw tumbleweeds.
There's like,
I heard banjos. I was like, what the hell did he take us?
Yeah, this is absolutely. That's yeah. Where did he take us?
Yeah,
this is an interesting place. This is a place that has all kinds of weird things. Now, the guy that Charles was talking about that was impressed by all the game stations we were taking to sell. He's not the owner. That's not Alvy. I've been there before, and I've talked with that. Alvy he was a young man who had some of his story because of course when I go to these places I talk to people. Imagine, if you will, he had a dream when he was a child. When he got older, he was a huge Disney fan, and he was going to go work for Mickey Mouse. So he, as a child, amassed a massive Star Wars collection. And this was in the 90s when Star Wars collecting was big. It was bigger than it is now. So he had this massive Star Wars collection, and he sold it all off, and he went and got an apartment just outside of Orlando and got a job working for Disney, kind of whatever. So he worked there at Disney, and he worked his way up and got into some research and development type stuff, not like actual in the lab type things, but he was one of the people that takes surveys and tries out new technology and stuff in the park. So that's his story. Now, these stories, the people that you run into, you have to kind of take them with a grain of salt, but it's a cool story. So I'm going to recount it right here. His mother got sick, so he had to move home because I think his father had already passed away. And he gave up this job at Disney and opened up this junk store to make a little bit of scratch while he was taking care of his mother. Now, when I say junk store, I don't mean like he had a few odds and ends in a strip mall. This dude has a massive barn looking thing with a concrete floor, and it just chock full of every kind of junk imaginable. Now, it could be all the way from like lighters and pocket knives and stun guns and that junk that you see at flea markets, all the way to he had video games. He has a lot of like Star Wars collectibles, a lot of like He-Man toys, Ninja Turtle stuff. He's a very nerdy dude, so he gravitated towards all that stuff. So there's a lot of that stuff that he got by buying storage units. And anyways, so he amassed this store that was kind of cool, especially if the owner's there, because he'll deal with you a little bit and whatever else. But yeah, it's an adventure.
Yeah,
again, Let's Make a Deal.
Yes, Let's Make a Deal was the name of it. Outside, they had just rows and rows of just junk and
toilets.
For like $1, you could fill up a Walmart sack.
Yeah,
it was just trash. But he did have a few decent things. I think Charles or Philip, you bought some there, didn't you?
Bought a sample track for a game I have, which in hindsight wasn't very good, and I paid too much for it. But it was a cool find.
It was something that you don't always run.
You wouldn't see it normally.
So. I could forget the 8-tracks.
Yeah, 8-tracks.
He had a bunch of 8-tracks. He had like a boxed Atari. Had like several box systems. I think there was a Sega Saturn in there that was way too expensive, but it was still there.
But the problem was the dust. There was this dust everywhere. So that was
dirt
like
and grime.
Grime, yeah, and it's kind of unclean. But it was still it made for a great story overall.
Absolutely. And that's why whenever I get a chance to go there, I do, just because it is a story. It's one of the last bastions of adventure. In this hobby of junk stores and thrift malls and dirt malls and all that, there's fewer and fewer of these places that are a treasure hunt, and this is one of them. This is one of those last holdouts of you might find a real prize in there.
Is it still open?
Yes, he's still open. He cleaned it up, and it's not as bad as what it was. It's not as dirty, so it lost some of the charm. But
he cleaned it. Damn.
Yeah. Well, he got rid of a lot, like all the junk outside, and it looks more like a legit store now.
Is that kid still there?
I haven't seen him.
I do hope so.
Yeah, that guy.
No, he's working for Sony, testing the PlayStation 8 now.
He was testing the PlayStation 5, and he didn't even come out yet, and he was. Yeah, that was a.
Then he got yelled at. I felt kind of bad for him there.
Well, the owner was up there with his girlfriend wanting to spend some time with her, if you know what I mean.
You know what I'm saying?
And this guy's like, I was like, well, if you can holler at him, I've got a bunch of stuff for sale, because I had a bunch of systems that I was trying to get rid of, and he, the kid couldn't buy it, and of course the dude did not buying it. So
I know that would have been great though. You'd have a lot of spending money for.
I bought Flintstones 2 on that trip anyway, yep. So we sold a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah, so worth it. Yeah, definitely. So
yeah,
but yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. So not necessarily objects. Yeah, more like just anything.
Well, it could be.
There's weird things you see sometimes.
There are weird. Like one time, and this hasn't been too long ago, I was in a Goodwill, and I'm not exactly sure where. It was somewhere in the great state of Arkansas. And I was digging through things, and on one of the end caps, there was some Christmas stuff. And Angie and I, we've got this idea for Christmas this year, and we've been looking for it all year. Like 80s tacky Christmas is what we're going to do here at the house, which is fun, right? Nice. Like the celluloid, like 3-foot tall Santa Clauses, and just that tackiness from the 80s that was just so cool. So we've been looking for stuff like that in like Goodwills and things. And I was looking through that, and I found what I don't know the proper term, because I'm not a dominatrix or into the S&M scene, but I believe it's a cat of nine tails.
Like a flog, a head,
like a flogger. Yeah, like a flogger. Okay. So if it was a leather, I would assume one would use this in the bedroom. But yeah, I found one of those. That's one of the weirder things that I've encountered looking for games. Looking for in thrift stores.
I can't believe that you found that's. I don't think it's such a good thing.
I can one better that. I was in a Goodwill, and this is an honest to God true story. Mm-hmm. I was digging through the cords, you go back to the electronics section in the Goodwill, and I dig through the big piles of cords, because you never know when you're going to find a GameCube controller or a NES power supply or a Super Nintendo power supply, things that you might need. And so I'm digging through these things, and I'm looking, and I move something over, and it's a small appliance, if you will. It has a sticker on it that says used, sold as is. And this is a large, it had a plug-in. This gives you, it was plugged into the wall. This is a type of device this would be, that for this podcast sake, we will call it a marital aid.
Personal massager.
Yeah, it was it was very phallic shaped. It wasn't like the personal massager for like your back. It was yeah, but it was a powerful one because it needed its own outlet. That's a real thing, man. I saw a used sex toy in a Goodwill.
I'm surprised I took it in the first place.
They didn't know what it was, I guess.
They're spreading the joy.
I hope nobody bought it.
They did. I mean, the Goodwill won't take printers or old fax machines. So I'm surprised they took that. But if they didn't know what it was,
they don't take CRT TVs anymore.
Oh, that's a shame. I actually need a CRT TV because trying to play some games on the PlayStation on the HDMI television. Something about maybe it's input lag, or I'm not sure what it's called, but that's
it does that sometimes.
Okay, but wow. So did you not buy that turf?
No, I washed my hands immediately.
Good. As you should have.
Yeah, because there's not enough Purell in the world to get that off.
No.
So yeah, that's one of the stranger things that I've come across is the flogger and the other marital aid.
I like the way you use that term, marital aid.
It's fun to say. It's way better than saying sex toy.
Yeah, it's a dildo. Yeah, marital aid is more fun.
It's a little bit. I feel like I'm classier when I say it.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like the trans vibrator for that.
For Rez.
For Rez.
Yeah. You'll have fun playing it, and so will your girlfriend. Yeah, that was like the tagline for a bunch of people.
That's so weird.
I know. I saw that game not too long ago at a play and trade. Didn't have the attachment. It was just the game, but I didn't get it. So
I kind of want it just because, just for the weirdness of it.
Yeah, it looks like a kind of like a fun puzzle shooting game, but
I would probably never play it. It'd be like this Miracle Piano over here.
It'd be like a conversation piece.
But it is like, hey, this thing is, you could play a game and get your girlfriend off.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
You can make her happy.
It's weird and awesome.
Well, talking about Retropalooza, Charles was mentioning that we met Game Stations dude. I'm not even sure if he has a name, but he's Game Stations dude for
Game Stations.
One of the years I was there, I think this was last year. We were manning our booth, and I'm handing out business cards. Hey, check out our podcast. And this guy comes by, and I do what I got to do to make sure I can actually hand him a card. I said, "Hey, cool hoodie," and it was a cool hoodie. He had like a Sega Saturn emblem on one side and like Kirby on the other side. It was like a cool light blue color. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Where'd you get that?" And he said, "Oh, I made it." And then he said, "And you know what else I made?" I'm like, "Oh, God damn it. Oh, no, what else did you make?" He said, "Well, I'm actually trying to make my own board game." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And then like before I could say, "Well, good luck with that," he starts going into all the details, and he hands me his phone and shows me this like 3-page document outlining the whole thing. And I'm like, "Oh, God damn it." And Turf was in conversation with someone else, and this is before we had our safe word of peaches.
Pineapple juice.
That was peaches.
Peaches.
Yeah. Peaches. If we say peaches and you're at our booth, it means we're trying to move on to another conversation. But this is before we invented that. So I was just stuck with this guy talking about this board game he's trying to create, and there was no graceful way to get out of it. And yeah, it was very awkward. Like I run out of things to talk about after a certain point, but he kept on going and telling me like what the dice would look like and what the games, little miniature game pieces would look like, what the board would look like, and I'm just like,
okay,
let's keep on. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Cool.
You run into these people for sure that are, especially in our hobby, that are eccentric, and that's not to say that I'm not eccentric myself. I've got my quirks, and I'm a nearly 40-year-old man that every week hangs out with his buddies on the internet and talks about video games. I get it. We're quirky, but some of these dudes, they really stand out.
There's a level of quirk with this guy, and I should have seen it coming because the jacket was a little outlandish. But hey, I thought at first he was making a fashion statement. I'm like, okay, cool, good for him. No, he wanted to plug his board game, and then he ended saying, "You know anyone who'd be interested in this?" I'm like, there is actually a booth of board game creators down that way. They actually might want to hear your sales pitch about this. There wasn't.
Then they came over and tried to stab you guys.
We never saw him again.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, at my work, there's a name for those people. We call them 45ers.
45ers?
Yeah, but they talk to you for 45 minutes.
Oh, the old 45er.
Yeah, sometimes it's more than 45 minutes, especially when you're on the phone. You're like, uh-huh. Oh, yeah, but I got,
Nah.
Oh, yeah, no. Then, then I accidentally pushed the release button to hang up.
I remember, this doesn't have to do with, the hobby, but if I'm on the phone with someone a long time, yeah, you can tell it's time to go, and I'm like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Sure. Yeah, little short little quips like that.
And I'll start lying to people like, no, they don't do that anymore. I'm sorry. We can't do that.
Don't be giving away your secrets now.
Now, working in retail, I'm sure you met a lot of...
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. 20 years of retail. You meet a lot of these weird people. And they tell you stuff like, yeah, okay, yeah. Tell you the stuff that you know already. Nikon, they've been using the same mount since the 60s. Like, yeah, I do. I know that, yeah. Yeah.
Work in a camera shop, kind of know my shit.
They don't make film anymore. And I'm standing behind a wall of film. I'm like, they still make it? Come on, yeah. It's still being made.
Do they mean to say it's not relevant anymore or something? Because
no, it's not making. Oh, I thought no, they still make that. That stuff's new. Like, yeah, it is. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's weird people who come in all the time.
And Tara, if you worked at a restaurant, I mean, this is kind of a little 180 degrees turn, but I'm sure you had weird customers.
Absolutely, of course, you run into all kinds of people when you work retail or you work in the food service, if you will.
Food services, yeah.
You meet a very diverse group of people. So yeah, you do. You run into those people. You run into some real sweethearts. You run into people that you really enjoy, but then at the same time,
they have the best intentions.
You have your regulars. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Then you got your weird regulars. It's like, oh, fuck, they're here.
Yeah.
I got to go down to the bathroom. I'll be down there until I'm done.
Just this past Retropalooza, ran into not a regular, but another one, again, handing out business cards. And this time, Jason was not there. We established our code word, peaches. And by the way, next year is going to be something different. So if I say peaches, don't think anything of it. But he was talking to me about, I'm trying to crack the code for Game Boy Advance games. I'm like, oh god, here we go again. I know what this is going to be.
Oh, cool. Good luck on that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then
go to the bathroom.
He keeps on going and going. And again, these guys have good intentions. I'm sure they just want to discuss their passion with someone. And I was the only one at the booth at that time, so I couldn't even call for help.
For sure, you were the guy. And this isn't necessarily to, gripe and moan about these people. There's been some good folks that we've met out there. I've been all over the United States. Whenever I go somewhere, obviously I look for games. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I found a game store that I absolutely to this day love. I still follow them on Facebook. I've bought a few things from the store through their Facebook page, and I met the owner. James was the guy that ran it. Super nice guy. I wasn't even I want to call him a character because that's kind of what these people that we're talking about tonight are, people that we've run into that made an impression, that good or bad, but just a super genuinely good dude that was really into it. And he saw my my love for the games, I guess, my excitement for something. I bought Fire and Ice from him. Fire and Ice at the time was about an $80 NES game. And this has been years ago. This has been 6-7 years ago. Anyways, so I was in there. I talked to James. I talked to him about my collection and collecting and the hobby and some of these awesome games. Some of that one's not very good. This one's great. You need to check this out. Which, I mean, he's this is what he does. He owns a game store. He knows what's good and what's not. And he's probably heard of most of it. Anyways, he said, he saw me talking about the Fire and Ice and saw me really was like, man, I can't pay that for it. He said, well, give me an offer. I'll listen to offers. I said, it won't be anywhere near what you'd let it go for. Cause like I said, I think it was like an $80 game. I said, yeah. I'll give you $50 for it. He said, plus tax. I said, yeah, plus tax. So I got Fire and Ice for like $30 off. Just because he knew how into it and how much I wanted that game just for, to add to my collection, to play, to enjoy, which Fire and Ice is a fantastic game. If you're into puzzle games at all.
Was that the first time you were at that store, or like
that was the first time I'd ever been to that store?
Oh, okay, cool.
And actually it's the only time I've ever been to that store in person. I don't know if I've been to Tulsa since, but super nice guy, super cool to talk to. He didn't have a crowd coming in and out, so he was more than happy to just chop it up with me. So that was really cool. That's one of the guys. So if you're ever in Tulsa, if you're ever anywhere near Tulsa, check out Thrill House Games. Thrill House Games. There's a free shout out for Thrill House Games. So anybody that listens to this and you're in Tulsa, go in there and tell James that the Our Parents Basement guys are talking them up, and we love their store. So
cool. Gives me reason to visit Oklahoma.
Yeah, I gotta go to Oklahoma.
So this is not limited just to people, but so it's anything.
Yeah, anything, man. Any of the crazy things, any of the silly stuff, any of the weird stuff that you've encountered, some of the places you might have been.
Kind of like you, I try to go to game stores whenever I'm in a new city, but these last couple of trips, I mean, obviously Arlington's an exception because it's for gaming, but I didn't go to a store when I was in New Orleans, and I didn't go to one that was different while I was in Cleveland. So I mean, I can't really think of like I really haven't gone thrifting. Is that the word we're looking for? Thrifting?
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. I call it trash digging. Some of these thrift stores, man, some of the people that I've run into, and things that I've seen are kind of crazy. I had one on the tip of my tongue, and I just forgot it. But when I went to San Antonio years ago, or it's probably been about 3 years ago, I took my son down there. We went to Six Flags. We went to there's a Bracken Bat Cave, which has the largest collection, or it's the home to the largest number of mammals in one group on the planet. Does that make sense?
Oh, neat.
Okay.
That's pretty awesome.
It's like 3 million bats call this cave home. And then at night, they all fly out. It looks like a cloud of smoke. Like if you see it in movies, like there's a hole in the ground and there's just tons of bats coming out of it. That's Bracken Cave.
Okay.
It's a national park.
Okay.
So we went and checked that out. And while we were down there, we hit up, D-Pad was the name of the game store that I hit up down there. And I can't remember the cat's name that was the owner.
The name of the store.
Yeah, D-Pad. It's super cool. The super cool staff, I guess. And there was a guy working there and then another guy that was the owner. And they just were cool to chat it up. Just cool to just sit there and shoot the bull about games. I let a Popeye Game & Watch.
Mm-hmm.
I let it go. It was the tabletop version of a Game & Watch. I really wanted it, but I just couldn't. It was like $200, which is it was a fair price for it because it's super uncommon. But I didn't get that, but I did get a Rastan and something else there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I bought some stuff there, so that's neat. That was another one that I really enjoyed. The store, really enjoyed looking around, and it made a positive impact, I guess.
Okay, so this is not limited to weirdos either. Okay, cool. This one kind of fits both. I mean, you guys know what Play and Trade is, right? It's kind of a common chain.
Yeah.
There's one near me, and it was at this Play and Trade. I actually saw my copy of Rule of Rose for the PS2, and I was like, oh, man, I legit wanted to play this. I didn't want to get it just for bragging rights or anything. So took the plunge, got it, went home, gave it a test drive, and it did not work. So I was like, oh man, this sucks. So I took it back to the store, and they waited on me hand and foot. I can't remember any of these guys' names. They treated me like royalty. They felt so bad that they had to come back, and they cleaned my discs, the disc for me, and they gave me like a couple of $10 off your next purchase coupons, sort of things. Like, I was treated like gold. I'm like, well, you know what? You guys aren't like very close to where I live. It's kind of a trek to get out there, but they've made a customer for life just because of that customer service.
Yeah.
So shout out to the Play and Trade of Murfreesboro. So keep on keeping on, guys.
Talk about customer service. Something I'm familiar with.
I'll tell you, the weirdest thing that I've come across as far as games goes was, and this is huge. This has actually happened in my hometown. This is right where I live. And the reason this is weird, it's a little show and tell time.
Ooh, we love show and tell.
I came across, when we were kids, we rented games. You'd go rent a game and you'd keep it for the weekend or so, or you'd keep it for a little while and you'd play it, and then you'd take it back, and that game was never to be seen or heard from again, right?
Right.
Au contraire, mon frere. When I would have guessed about 6th, 7th, 8th grade, somewhere in junior high, I rented a game called Shadowrun for the Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a really fun game. It's a RPG, cyberpunk type thing.
It's an interesting game.
It is. And there's like orcs and magic and plug it into the Matrix. And it's
oh, neat. Sounds awesome.
It's actually really, I think you would dig it. I think if you gave it a shot.
I'll have to find a way to play it.
I got it for the Genesis.
Find a way.
Okay.
It's a different game for Genesis.
Okay.
Based on a pen and paper game like Dungeons and Dragons. But anyways. So I was in my local game store here in Batesville, Arkansas, and I saw this. This is Shadowrun. Mm-hmm. And it has a tag on the front of it. Now, where I rented games when I was a kid was very specific, very weird. It was a place that sold ceramics, like to paint.
Okay.
It sold carpet.
Okay.
And it rented video games.
It was basically like
America right there.
It was a woman in a very small town called Franklin, Arkansas,
mm-hmm.
that was about 10 minutes from where I grew up. And she had a store where she sold ceramics because she liked ceramics. She sold carpets because that's what paid the bills.
Rugs are expensive.
And not like by the foot carpet.
Oh,
I think they may have sold rugs there too.
Like floor rugs, like big old.
Yes.
For the whole room. Okay.
Like if you're going to buy a wall-to-wall carpet, you could get it there.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, rug wasn't the right word to use.
The name of the place was called Carpet and Ceramics. Well, they also, because this woman liked Nintendo or liked playing video games, this is an oddity. She rented or had bought video games when they came out, and she would rent them to, I guess, the local kids. And this one that I bought has a tag on the front of it that says 50 carpets. It was number 50 for the rental and it said carpets just right there on the front, right? It says carpets.
I see.
This is the very same copy that I rented when I was a kid, like 20 years ago. And it turned up in a game store. So I bought it and I was happy to have it. I think I paid like $30 for it. I mean, I paid full eBay value for the game, but it was like, how could I pass that up? How could I let that go?
Yeah, it's got that sentiment.
So that's probably the weirdest thing that I've ever come across. It was the exact same copy that I had rented 20 years ago.
That's crazy that of all the copies of that game to run into, you get that one.
Of all the weird stuff to run into, you run into something that you played when you were a kid.
So who was with you when you saw that? Like, was it just you?
That was just me. It was a local game store. I just stuck my head in there every now and then, and I was probably stopping there twice a week just to see if they had anything new.
Huh. Well, what do they say? Consistency and persistence.
That's right. Consistency and persistence.
So both of those paid off for that.
But yeah, I've had the weirdest thing that happened to me working retail. This is not just game hunting. This is just retail wise. We're cleaning out the basement at work, throwing out all these busted up, broken cameras. Put them down in a bin. Building takes them out, throws them in a dumpster. Literally, like 3 hours later, these kids come in with a box of cameras. It's like, do you guys buy cameras? Like, yeah, we buy cameras. I start looking at them like, okay. Starting to look familiar. I see one camera I knew I threw out. I'm like, and I look at the kids. I'm like, what are you doing? We just threw this fucking shit out like 2 hours ago. And they walk out, head down, and just kind of like walk out all slowly. Leaving the box. They left the box of cameras on the counter. So I had to take it out again. I'm like, really, kids?
That's pretty funny, actually.
Everybody I work with, he just started cracking up about that.
To try to pull a fast one on you.
I'm like, no, get out. And like, darn kids these days.
Yeah, when it comes to actual like purchases, like things, I can't really think of anything like in my trust, like, trash digging, as you call it, like, hey, look at this thing. I never, because usually I'm not really looking for, usually I don't step into like pawn shops or anything like that has that smorgasbord of items. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the wide array of oddities.
Yeah, like the Let's Make a Deal place. That was my first time ever at a place like that.
Was it the last time?
No. When did we go to Memphis? Was that before or after?
That was after that.
Then no, it was not, because we kind of hit up a couple of Goodwills. So, but a place of Let's Make a Deal's caliber, that's the only time I've ever been in such a.
There used to be a lot more places like that you could just find. There was just junk. There was actually a place. Did we stop right down the road from Let's Make a Deal? There was like some storage units that maybe it was storage, maybe it was just a big barn. I guess we didn't stop there. So
no,
a couple of ladies had turned it into just a kind of a store that they would just buy storage lockers and bring it in there, and it was kind of the same thing. It was just junk. But occasionally, like, I bought a Bo Jackson football baseball for Game Boy in there one time, and I bought like a few games and stuff that they didn't know what they had. They didn't care.
Yeah, I just wanted to clear some space.
Like $3. I'm like, yep, $3 sounds good. Now,
go ahead.
Have you guys ever done any like Craigslist deals or Facebook Marketplace deals?
Never. Never, ever.
I've not done Craigslist. Jenny has done Craigslist. That's why we have a storage unit full of darkroom equipment. We have about 30 darkroom and orders sitting in our storage unit. 30.
Jeez.
30.
30.
3 0.
Yeah, if you're not listening, that's 10 3 times.
Yes.
I've had pretty good luck with Craigslist, I've had a lot of luck with Craigslist about 5 years ago, and now I have a lot of luck with the Facebook Marketplace. Now, if you do these, it's not like eBay where you buy something and somebody ships it to you. Oh no, we've got to go out into the streets. We've got to meet these people.
Streets.
Sometimes they are. One time this was a Facebook Marketplace deal. Or Facebook yard sale. Somebody was getting rid of some Super Nintendo games. And I'm like, well, what do you know? I'm buying Super Nintendo games. It was like some like Super Metroid and Super Mario World and like the pretty common stuff that's good games and good for trading and things. But one of them stood out to me, Adventures of Batman and Robin, which that's about a $70 game. And this guy's wanting, just making offers what he's wanting. So I hit him up. I'm like, well, man, I'm interested in all of them. If you could just, we can come to a deal. He said, well, I'll tell you what, just come by the house and we'll look at all of them.
Come by the house?
Yeah, come by his house.
Oh, boy.
Now, I'm not a very smart person. I don't have as much, I guess, natural fear as I should. I don't care. I'll wander in somebody's house. Now, I won't take the boy with me, and I won't take my wife with me. I wouldn't take anybody else with me, but I'll go. What's the worst that could happen? I don't take my billfold in because I do have this much sense. I don't take my billfold in. I take whatever cash I'm going to spend. If I get robbed, I'm out that cash, right? So chances are they're just going to rob you. They're not going to shoot you, right?
Right.
So I go in. Well, okay. Hold on. So I wander into this house it looks like a duplex from the outside. So I'm like, okay, well, just knocked on the door and yeah, come on in. So I walk in duplex, you've got 2 doors, 2 porches. So I go in the left one, and then the guy meets me at the door, no shirt on.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh yeah. He's like, yeah, come on in, come back here to the bedroom. I've got the games back there. I'm like, all right, man, no problem. We can do this. So I wander back, and first I walk into this living room, and there's a child running through with no diaper on.
Oh,
there's a bong on top of the TV.
Naturally.
Of course, right? Somebody is, I guess they're cooking something, and it smelled exactly like when other people are cooking. You know what I'm talking about when you walk past somebody, like,
grease
what did
smell?
you cook in here?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they were cooking. Whatever other people are always cooking. So I follow this dude back to this dirty bedroom, and he's got a shoebox full of games. He's like, have a seat. I'm like, no, I'm good. So I'm digging through this thing. I'm not sitting on this dude's bed because they're, AIDS. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know. The cure for cancer may have been in there. I don't know. But anyways, it is sketchy, man. It is so sketchy. And now at the same time, I, once again, don't have any sense, and I'm not nervous. So I'm going through this dude's game like, oh, what do you want for all of them? And he's like, hey, I want this much for this one, this much for this one. I said, all right, how about these? And I just take these. And I bought like $60 or $80 worth of games, and came out with, he like wanted to hang on to the Super Metroid and like Mega Man X. And I walked away with like the Donkey Kongs and the Batman and Robin and Mario World and all the other, the good stuff except for, the couple games he wanted to keep. But it was, that was a good find, but it was sketchy, especially, naked kids running around. Let's see. Another time I went to a place and somebody, this was obviously people that they enjoyed crystal methamphetamine. Would been my guess. It was drugs of some sort for sure. It was a couple of one of them was the stereotypical combat boot mullet lesbian, except for she had her party in the back chopped off, so it wasn't the mullet. But so I'm buying like some Game Boys or like a Game Boy Advance SP and some stuff like that. Well, yeah, I'd like, you got any more game stuff? I'm in their house. She tries to sell me like a dragon claw looking thing. It was like one of those metal things that goes on your finger that has a blade on the end. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't need any knives or weapons of murder. You got any games? And she like tries to sell me like all this other stuff. I'm like, nah, I just want some games. That was one of the weirder ones because I know they were smoking meth in the back of the house for sure.
Oh yeah. Ugh.
But yeah, they were just trying to whatever. Hey, you need a watch? I'm like, no, I don't need a watch. I don't need a dragon claw.
This isn't a yard sale. This is,
I just want some games, yo. So I got the games and I got out. So I've been on a lot of things like that. A lot of go into some dude's house and buy whatever games he has because he needs drug money.
Yeah, I don't have a story like that. I never did the Craigslist or Facebook market thing. So, Charles, have you done?
Well, I always go with Jen when she picks up her Craigslist stuff, and people usually have the darkroom stuff.
Yeah,
they're pretty normal.
Yeah, they are. They're just into the same hobby you are.
Yeah, they're I guess people are selling games. Yeah, they could get them at random spot, and it's worth money,
or they think it's worth money, and that's everybody had some. They found them in the closet or something, or they took it in on trade for something. So I run into a bunch of that. But there are good people too. There's a Tasei kid. He was a teenager when I first met him in Truman, Arkansas. First time I met him, I bought my Dragon's Demon Crest from him.
Okay,
and so it's pretty expensive. Anyways, he's like a super collector of Super Nintendo games, and he's probably, I'd say he's about 20 or 21 now. He's in college. We're Facebook friends, but him and his mom showed up. Like, yeah, I've got this box of games. Are you interested? I was like, yeah, I'm interested in this one. And so I bought a bunch of games from a kid that he's a really good kid. It was just so weird that he had those.
Like every time we go to Craig, Jenny's like, do you got your knife with you? Do you got your knife with you? I'm like, of course I got my knife with me.
I mean,
that's every Craigslist thing we say. Do you have your knife?
gotta protect yourself.
Yeah, I do. I don't carry it into places, but I always take my pistol with me.
Yeah.
Like no, because most of these places are in sketchy neighborhoods, especially if I'm meeting somebody in a parking lot. But I'm pretty good about meeting them in like the Walmart parking lot or
public place is one thing.
Like Walgreens parking lot. The Walgreens is real centrally located here in town, and it's 24 hours. So that's a good one.
Okay. I mean, I think I'd be more open to the idea if they said, well, let's meet at this grocery store or, the mall or the Wally World, anything like that. But buddy calling you over to his place, that's where I'm like, I'm good.
I don't. If it's somebody who wants to meet me at usually the Walgreens or the whatever Walmart or something like that, I'm good with. I don't care. I'll take whoever with me. But when it's like, hey, yeah, just swing by my house. Here's my address. I'm like, okay, I will. Everybody else, I'll call you when I leave.
Like, all the Craigslist stuff we did, we always picked at people's houses because darkroom stuff, it's hard to Yeah, so if you are going on Craigslist, always check to see if that listing is posted multiple times. The same thing is posted multiple times, probably a scam.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I never knew that about
sometimes
Craigslist.
It's on there like 5 or 6 times. And it's interesting, like especially and one time we were like the people like sometimes have houses for sale on Craigslist sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And like we could come across it 6 or 7 times on there, like this seems a little off. So that's when you were saying.
There's definitely scams and there's a lot of time wasters out there, but for the most part, I've had a lot of good luck with Craigslist. I've got my Dracula X. I got it in like a boxed Final Fantasy 3 big. I spent like $300 on the stuff, but the dude was just anxious to get rid of it. He didn't know what he had and he didn't care. He just like, a lot of people have been trying to buy part of this, but since you were the first one that wanted to buy all of it, here you go. And I drove like 3 hours for it because it was like $600 worth of. It was like a box Mega Man X, box Super Metroid, box Final Fantasy 3, Dracula X was in there. It wasn't boxed, but a lot of my really good Super Nintendo games came from that one thing, that one deal. So it was worth the drive and worth the money. But it was that was just some dude that had stuff and just wanted to meet me in the parking lot and get rid of it.
Arkansas is where it's at for used games, apparently.
Well, it was. That was 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah,
but you bought everything in Arkansas.
Near my house, I bought most of it. A lot of it is in Texas now. In my time of doing this, I've bought thousands of games and taken them to Retropalooza and sold them. But I funded a lot of my collection, a lot of the really hard to find stuff that way. My Samson, my Flintstones, Power Blade 2, stuff like that. I couldn't find a deal on, so I funded it through selling games and buying them at Retropalooza.
Yeah.
I always keep up with, or I always did that to fundraise. I could buy stuff for a song, and then there we go.
Sure. Yeah. I think you got us both beat when it comes to interesting Craigslist and Facebook marketplace encounters because you've been doing it for such a long time.
That was the deal. I've been doing it for years. So way back when Craigslist was still a viable thing and it wasn't just stores or dealers, people like, I'll pay cash for all your old video games. Before that, and it was just people really it was a yard sale. It was like classified ads. I got a lot of good deals off of Craigslist and a lot of good deals off of I still get pretty good stuff off of Facebook when it's just people want to get rid of stuff.
Well, I got nothing else on the top of my head would make for a good story. Kind of hard to top the lesbian mullet story and all those.
Man, I went. There's just so many of those of just people that I've been to their house. There was one guy that I'm pretty sure he was trying to sell like his family members' Nintendo stuff. I showed up at his house to buy it, and then I was turned away, and he's like, come back in an hour. I'm like, all right, because I mean, it was like good stuff.
Yeah,
and it was like $25. So I got turned away, and I came back in like an hour. I was like, no, my parents wouldn't let me sell it. I was like, all right, dude, you're like 35, and it's like you're trying to sell you something that's not yours. All right, I get it.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's been a ton of stuff.
Can you imagine the conversation? Hey, Mom, I know I'm an adult, but can I sell this? No.
Oh, they're probably
Are you getting that, Charles?
Just already got them coming back to get this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Dalky there.
Yeah, you were a little staticky there, Turf. What were you saying?
I don't know. I was rambling. Just let it go.
Okay.
I think YouTube knew you were rambling. Like, nope, he's rambling. Let's cut it down so people don't lose interest.
Wasn't YouTube down for like a few hours not too long ago? Like,
I'm like, yeah, the other day it was down worldwide. People were like, oh my god, YouTube's down. We can't watch Psy Gangnam Style.
No more cat videos. Yeah, it went down the other day. Like, I saw it on Facebook. Somebody was blaming the government for taking down. Of course, my Facebook is. I know a lot of right-wing nut jobs, so like, the government's taking it down. It's a new world order, and
oh my god,
yeah, that kind of stuff happens.
That's far right. Oh god,
yeah, it was. Yeah. There's a lot of that stuff, but it went down, and people panicked for a minute. But hey, here we are. We're back.
Yeah, we're
back.
I got on Eric's stream, the Midwest Retro Gamers, on their stream that night, and he was having trouble still getting his up to stream his. What does he play?
Friday the 13th?
No, not Friday the 13th.
Dead by Dawn.
Dead by Dawn. There we go. I couldn't think of the name of it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They do Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight. Yeah.
Dead by Daylight. Okay, yeah, that's it. So hey, if y'all get a chance, check out the Midwest Retro Gamers. There's some fun streamers to go watch. A lovely couple play games. They're good people.
Talk about Eric and Mo, yeah.
Yeah, Eric and Mo.
Yeah, love those
From
guys.
the Burbs.
Yes, Charles. We know they're not from Chicago proper. Blah 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 blah. Well, my friends, do we have anything else to add to this topic, or?
I think we got it, man. There's been a lot of weird stuff out there.
What was that? Is that you, Charles?
Don't give me no back talk, sucker.
I don't know where that came from.
He found some weird stuff as well.
Yeah.
But, there's been a lot of cool stuff out there, a lot of stuff that people have come across. So hit us up in the comments if y'all are watching this on Face or what is this thing? YouTube. Let us know.
MySpace.
Hit us up on the iTunes. Let us know some of the weird stuff that you've come across. That's at OPB Podcast on Twitter, on Facebook.com/OPB Podcast, Instagram at OPB Podcast. We're going to try to do some more gramming.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
I am on Instagram now, too. Trying to plug my reviews in my review site. So
You're on the Instagram?
finally, yeah, I have no idea how that shit works, but I'm trying. So
I don't understand some of those when people comment in emojis.
yeah.
Like a Christmas tree, a dog, and like a pineapple and an eggplant. I'm like, what are you trying to say?
I know eggplant. I know that one. I've sent that one before.
Anyways, we carry on, Turf. Carry on.
Sorry.
I'll tell you what, if you've enjoyed this episode of this podcast, there's 116 others, and they're right over there if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, the real goal of this is the audio-only version of this podcast. You can download us and take us anywhere you want to go. You can drive like around the world if there was a bridge that long. Swim part of the way. If you just wanted to listen to this podcast, there's 116 other hours plus this one. That's 117 chances to listen to us. So check us out, download us, hit us up with a rating because those are cool. They actually help people find the podcast. So there's that. There's the interact with us. I already told you about all the places like Twitter at OPB Podcast. I don't know if you're listening. That's Our Parents Basement Podcast, OPB Podcast. Hit us up. Say what's up. I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate y'all listening. This is cool. It's so much fun to do. I'm glad to be back with you two. It's been a bumpy road here lately, but we're back and hopefully moving forward. So there we go.
All right.
That was beautiful.
That's it?
That was awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will be back next Thursday with a new episode.
All right. Good night.
Later.